Basically, I want to say that I'm watching firsthand as my entire state that I grew up in is destroyed, brainwashed, and killing itself. And the ones that have a heart that are willing to open up and work with the public and kind of get us back to a sense of peace. You know, when you love someone so much that they wake up and realize all their problems were meaningless and that they were stuck. My whole state has that. And there's very few people. I just walked through, I had it, so I walked through and I was nice to as many people as possible. And I saw people on the verge of crying that someone had shown them an act of kindness without, I guess you'd call it rape culture. They've made it so expensive to live here that even hard-working, two jobs, fathers of families, and two jobs, mothers of families, will no longer be able to have a house. No matter how hard we work, there's no way that any of us are going to be able to stay here without homelessness. And we don't know who's buying it up. We don't know the people that are buying our properties, burning down our businesses, and buying the land. All we know is that they're worth billions of dollars, and suddenly all these businesses are going under slowly and being eaten up. All these homeowners are having to leave and move to Wyoming, and then their house gets eaten up. There's somebody that's using our life as the game Risk, where they're taking everything and they're kicking everyone out and just buying it and buying it and buying it. They're eating away everything. And this community that's been around for hundreds of years, that's beautiful and simple and sweet, kind, rugged northern, has been perverted and destroyed into grotesque, prideful, heartless, evil pieces of shit. This place once was hippie communes. All Vermont was hippie communes. And it's just been slow waves of white pride and prejudice. And now it's getting eaten by some type of, probably a Jewish oligarch. And I can't get through to anyone anymore. When I was 14 and I was traveling, it was a lot easier for me to talk to people and wake them up and make them laugh again. And then their whole day was better, and then I'd see them and they went better. Some of the people that I talked to when I was 14, after I met them, they went on to go tour Africa with the Princess of England because of a letter they wrote on a blog about how they use compassion to work with youth and homelessness. And that went to touring Africa to show compassion to children. I walked back through the capital of Vermont. I walked around and saw everybody raising their hand, trying to steal all the etheric energy. Looking at everyone angry, stomping around, twitching. They're gone. And I walked through and I said, we're going down, and you know that we're doomed, my dear. We're slow dancing in a burning room. You were the one I always dreamed of. You were the one I'd love to draw my deep and dying wish for. You were the one I ever saw. I can't stand the thought of God because of how much I've been hurt. But I'll tell you that the only way that any of you are ever interested in anything I have to say is when I have a connection to the sun, so the energy is so pure, you latch onto it because it seems like the way out of your depression. The only reason that you like content creators, or at least like my content, if you don't enjoy watching me suffer, is when I have the hope and the light that I'm shining seems like the light at the end of your tunnel. That's the only time I ever get any form of investment. So as much as I hate believing in God because of how much I've been hurt, I know that when I get close to that idea of God, everybody wants to be around me. When I break through and I'm the embodiment of light, everyone's around me. So I went through to make it a better place. I laid down, just waiting for my next bus to get from here. I just took a 3-hour bus ride, and I'm headed on another 2-hour bus ride back to my tent to get this phone for you, so I can make better content for people that enjoy watching me suffer. And the people that I reach out to cloud at me. My childhood heroes warned me that it might be like some type of sexual cult type vibe, sex trafficking. Like I tried to meet my spiritual development who used to be pickup artists, and then their worker, the call guy, said, this is not for you if you are a spiritual person. This is not a good place. They're not good people. There's a reason that they throw the biggest Beverly Hills parties, and that all the celebrities want to go there. And then people come out crying and screaming about what happens in there. And I was trying to get his help to help me build a plot of land in the center of Vermont that I could turn into a content creation studio, and let that be a beacon of hope for people that want to take their stories and make it to the best of their ability and then shine a light outward. So the neighbor of Phil Scott came and sat down with me today for no reason. And I got to tell him about, hey, we have all these crackheads that will go 10 miles a day just to get a hit. They will suck dick in the back of a Walmart for 12 hours for their pimp to give them a consistent income of crack. Because they're an animal, and these communities don't like animals, they're pests. So they'd rather do that. They'd rather subject themselves to that than be a part of how sick this is. Because that's the only alternative that they have. Because no one, because of the system, won't let them work without the guidelines of roping themselves narratively into this big web that they're trapped in called employment. Where life was at one point, even if you're on the ground like this, you could get up and just go to a business and say, hey, I'm willing to bust my ass, solve all these problems for you, give me what you feel like I'm worth, and then I'll keep going. That would solve the homeless crisis. When they were ready to work, they could go in. When they weren't ready, they would leave. Respectfully. So I told the governor's neighbor, he's a security guard that consistently keeps showing up, and at first he was stomping around me, throwing shit at me, screaming in my face. Now the universe has broken him down to a point where he was ready to hear what I had to say. And he found me instead of at the top of the mountain where he had to stomp up to conquer me, he found me laying down right by the river at the bottom of the mountain. And instead of me having to fight him off at the top of the mountain and winning, he had to walk back with his tail between his legs. He found me laying at would technically be the lower position of power. So he felt good, like, oh, I finally got him. And then I was just so kind and happy, and none of the negativity could hit me at all because of everything that I've been through, everything that I overcame. That it stunned him. And then I just went, hey, shouldn't the homeless people, you know how they'll work 12 hours a day just to run around and get some crack. They'll walk 10 miles to the next town if they have to. Give them an electric bike outside this place. Let that electric bike go into a generator. Have that generator have a little ticket machine that registers at the end when you hit the button and stop how much power it generated. Let them take that ticket with all the power they generated and then bring that to Shaw's, the same with the bottle redemption, because they're already collecting bottles. Have them also be able to go and give them this ticket. Look how much power I generated from busting my ass. And then that's converting all their daily habits into positivity and perseverance so that they're in a better position to be more of a benefit to the community, and that will allow them to have better emotions that help the community respond better to them, so it's not a fight because they've already worked out the fight and the problems. He said, wow, you've got some good ideas. I'm like, yeah, it's called synchronicity. Aren't you Phil Scott's neighbor? So you'd be the only way that I'd be able to get to that man, right? Other than, this year and the worst part of my homelessness where people are throwing coffees at my head, people are threatening to kill me, people are putting a gun to the car, I had to fight someone with a hatchet and wrestle him for the hatchet, pick him up on the ground, throw him on the ground at 3 a.m. in the middle of winter when I hadn't slept in a week, and then I had to bash him with a hatchet laughing, and then I chased him out. And I went, he tried to kill me! And I slammed on the window, and the guy's like, let's get out of here. And then he slammed on the light post and swerved off. And we think he's dead. People are telling me both of them are dead. So I'm technically responsible, but they came at me. But in all those moments this year, the governor of Vermont has consistently seen me so much that I'm in the group chat. He's like, why? At first he said, why is this engine squawking on my property? At Vermont Tech College. And then now they talk about me in Montpelier. People are seeing me around Vermont because I'm taking these buses like 2 hours away. So people are seeing me all across Vermont, and I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm seeing myself growing like a tree. And I'm saying that I don't know how to do it alone, and I feel like the only alternative is to go downtown with a giant speaker and start screaming. And I see a bunch of people going onto their balconies just to wait for me to slip up so that they can go back. And then they'll sit there until the house collapses. And then they're just sat down on the dirt, confused, because they don't have anything to hate anymore. And I wish I could ride in on a bike with a bat and just slam them in the face. I saw myself on a golden bicycle with a black and gold bicycle and a black and gold bat, and I rode by and just caved their head in with the bat for all the shit that they did to me. I want to make Vermont green. It's the Green Mountains. I wanted to make Vermont green. I want to make Vermont green so that it sets an example of how you don't have to have all this gridlocked industry. You could have something beautiful that sways with nature, and the houses were built perfectly over hundreds of years to fully encapsulate the beauty of the flow of the nature that's already here. When you take these back roads and the houses are made by hippies that learned carpentry, and the hippies built it so beautifully in Vermont so that when you drive through, it's an experience, not a gridlock city based on farming demonic energy for the demiurge. So I wanted to take these Vermont houses that are suffering, that don't have any money, and don't have anywhere to go, and they're being uprooted in the second Trail of Tears, to go fuck off, to be homeless like the homeless people they're throwing their coffees at. Because they think that the homeless people are taking their money, and they don't understand that money's made up. Money's not real. It's not backed by gold. They made it up to keep us in this loop, this cycle of behavior. Consistently farming our dreams and only allowing a little bit to pew, 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 so that the rest believe that it's possible and keep going. There's my crow, directly in front of my face, look. Directly in front of me. And there's nobody watching, because who would? You want to jerk off and do nothing. You're so narcissistic and fucked up, you can't recognize how much I've been through live. It just doesn't make sense to you. And every time that you comment, it's a bunch of bullshit. I hate you. You guys will make me laugh when I'm rich. So I wanted to give them all solar panels for free. I wanted to get the world together to raise money to turn this into the Green Mountains so that everything is self-sustainable. The people that were nice, the handful of people that I found, and I would be able to check. You could cart them into my keep. You could bring them into my castle, and I'm sat on the throne, and I could see them. And because of everything that I've been through, I'd be able to say, they get to stop working. They get to stop working and go on a farm. They get to stop working. They have to go. They have to stay at work for a year. Or we give the rest of them hydrogen cars. Or we give the rest of them electric bicycles. We get together and we have all the tools we need for logging and trail paving. We start paving more trails through the forests, opening up more alternative jobs to maintain these trails. And those trails can have horses. Those trails can have smaller little cars like rickshaws with e-bikes. More alternatives to get around Vermont. And then we have giant solar arrays above park and rides and in fields. And then we have intricate little dam systems where you build the dam across the stream, you follow the stream, and you periodically have dams going down it, layered, so that small towns have access to the dam energy, to hydropower. You can have, I want portable household items, like a portable household waterproof hydro generator, where you take 2 sticks, 2 anchors at a float, and then you put it in the river, and then that will start to generate your power, and you can have a waterproof lead that goes to your portable battery, so that you can put it in the back of your e-bike, put that portable hydropower that you could put out at a stream and just let it sit. Because solar panels are slow. I want the horses out of the stables. I want all these horses that I see that are depressed and sitting around that look up like, are you going to save me? The same way I had to pick up crack-addicted 14-year-olds off the street last year. The horses look at me the same way. Are you just another guy here to rape me? To ride me? And then leave me? I want these horses back on the trails full sprint, racing each other for fun, riding through the valleys and the hills. And then you have all you need on the back to be able to just set up camp, and you can stay there as long as you want. And then they have designated safe areas, like towns. I want the porn industry to stop. I don't know how to get that far, but I know that that's a huge cause of this male loneliness and these power struggles of them not fucking a woman. They're fucking an idea of a woman in their head, and then they go out and then talk to people. That's destroying them. That's destroying community and society. I want the internet to be shut down 2 days a week, where social media is off and they only have things focused on identifying and solving problems. So Tuesday and Thursday, the only social media you can access is talking about the problems that we have and coming up with solutions. I want community to be based on finding creative solutions to problems that they feel safe enough to identify, and they have the mind necessary to articulate it and to look at things from different perspectives and come to different conclusions, and then offer the problem in ways that allow multiple people to work on it at once. Small towns do it by riding the bus and gossiping with each other until somebody finally gets fed up and comes to a decision. Like a network. So a social network. 2 days a week, I want it to, Tuesday and Thursday. I want there to be guidelines to what you're allowed to post on what days. You can have free speech apps. You can have regular apps like that. But for the most part, you know, on Tuesday and Thursday, the theme of that day is going to be progress. Because I'll tell you, every man that I've ever met here, even my cousin Jesse that thinks that he's going to be successful at 40, he doesn't want to have sex ever in his life. He wants to sit in Section 8 for the rest of his life. Even him. He's always striving to make something perfect. I think all men want to do at a foundational level is make things better. And when the world treats them so horribly, and the system is designed to make that not fun anymore, and make it really hard to do anything, really extensive, really difficult, so many hoops you have to drive through, you have to really, really do it for a long time to be able to just do what you want to do. When society, when my world gets to a more community-oriented place, you'll be able to open your phone and it will be very easy to just go to the progress bar on your Twitch stream where people are talking about problems and finding solutions and working together to build things and going out together regulated by some type of monitoring security system so it doesn't get out of hand. And you'll be able to channel your efforts into something. The way that I would start would be to start get-togethers and going downtown in Vermont. I would get all you guys who are... How many of you are about to be homeless? I'd get everybody. It's their choice. But that's what I wanted. That's the reason I reached out to Owen Cook and all these people, is that there's that Vivek's cabin is about $70,000. I would build a stone tower, I'd start clearing out trees, I'd start moving in RVs, I'd start putting solar panels on them. There's a stream to do the hydro generator, freeing the river. It's a shitty, horrible place, so it needs good people to go in and invade. There's horses right down the road, there's a farm right up the street. And there's Vermont Technical College right there. And it's the best view in Vermont I've seen that you can sit there and watch, where you don't have to drive through. I'm on the other side of the mountain. I'm in the mountains right now. Where I used to show you the mountains in the earlier videos, I'm in those mountains right now. And then I'm about to take a bus an hour and a half north to get back to that river, to get the rest of my stuff, get some Wi-Fi, reorient, and figure out where I'm going to invade next, because I just went to one of the shittiest places in Vermont, and I went and made a difference. There was people that needed jump starts, and I had to find the person that had the jumper cables. I had to convince him he's fat. I had to convince him and depressed. I had to convince him to get up and go jump the cars, and then they gave me money that I used to buy a pizza. UPS. Look at him twitching. I raised my fingers and he went. They're trapped. And the crow is still directly in front of my face, waiting for the right move so that he can shoot his vibes in and destroy everything and channel my connection to God out. Or the sun, because God made both, right? And you're not supposed to think the sun is God. You're supposed to see that there's a prime creator that created everything, including with probably aliens and other dimensions. And I had tons of dreams where I was training Andrew Tate as a child on how to be a successful content creator. I had dreams that Tristan would sit in the middle of us, and he would be on a throne, and I would be on like a... We were both in reclining chairs, but he made his seem like a throne, and mine was like made out a nice rocking chair with all the weaves and all this stuff, like made out of old trees, like an old throne. And his is like one that he had just built, and it's like prefabricated and stuff that he bought at a warehouse and had someone else put together. And I was sitting on like this amazing weaved wicker rocking chair throne that was, as soon as I sat in it, I was comfortable and I was connected to nature. And I was explaining to him a bunch of shit, and he was just head down, angry at everything, puffing his cigar. And Tristan was sitting there like, this is what I'm dealing with. And then the next video he posted, he's dancing just like me. And I've had that for many content creators. KC, the king of content. King Cobra. And I'm sitting in one of the most beautiful places I've been to, but the people are, the inside and that at their core is the sweetest, kindest community I've ever seen. But there's so much piling them down right now that they need a leader. And I know my gift as a tree is to understand the systems that need to be changed and see how the intricate weaving of the systems goes like nature. So I can see how the communities are formed and how all the different things work. And I have this humility and kindness and these Vermont town vibes I've developed that I'm able to walk up and talk to anybody. I'm able to walk up and go right into the mayor's office and talk to the mayor. And he's not trying, he'll stomp around it, he'll do the whole thing, he's angry. And then I'm like, you know, like with the tiger, and then you stand up. When the sun bear goes in Africa and there's a tiger on the ground, the tiger's like, I'm gonna try, and then the bear just stands up like this, and then the tiger sits down and the bear gets to keep going. Raccoons are small bears, they're in the same family. And I could tell him, you all need to switch your alternatives to hydropower. And when I did that, I found out about the Freemasonic organization and that the Jewish oligarchs, and Bernie Sanders has Nazi paraphernalia, and he's not involved in Vermont at all, and Phil Scott doesn't care, and Burlington is just a cesspool of getting as much money as possible before they leave, and they're raising the rent so everybody gets kicked out, and they're pushing everybody out, and the homeless people are coming in, and we're getting invaded, and we're all going into this baseline now where everybody's going to be homeless, and it's all whoever's going to come in. People worse, farther into the system. Vermont was fighting back, and now we're being forced in a trail of tears. We're the new indigenous. So I would have an RV, a studio on a hill, an eagle statue, my kids, a nice ski chalet, red, with the roof that juts out, and the shingles look like leaves. Flowing in different sides, down. Maybe even stone pillars, or stone on the corners have the stone masonry going upwards. And then a giant pit where it's layered, a pond maybe, and the pit is tiered. They got gutters to keep the water out, and that pit was where people sit around the fire and hang out, and the music plays from the porch, or from the bottom of the house at the top of the hill, so it's level. And so the good vibes get spread across the trees, and the trees feel all the good emotions. And then we have bird houses surrounding the whole thing. Then we have a small cow farm. You go through the trees, through a dirt path, and then you get to a cow farm where the cows can roam in this big field, and we don't overdo all the cows so they can hang out. And maybe even have cow play dates where we have cows that have tags, not brands, but tags on the legs. It'd feel like just like a plastic shackle that has the cow stuff on it. So that once a week you can take the cows and you can bring the cows to the other people's farms, and that the animals that we're using as livestock, we treat as humans that go on play dates. We walk the cows down the field, down the trail. And then the world will find out that the cows will start to produce better tasting milk. The cows will produce stuff that when you drink it, it makes you feel better. I think everybody knows now that when you're in a bad space, your hair grows out wrong and falls out. Sex isn't the same. The whole process gets fucked up. Even when you piss, it's different. It's a different feeling that you're expressing. So when everybody's happy, everything gets better. And you can't be yourself without a strong community to allow you to feel comfortable and safe enough. That's when you need people like me to incarnate and then fight through all the bullshit laughing. Setting an example for people to grow in a different way. And then I would have a huge space and invite the indigenous back to do their powwows here. There would be a whole space, like an abandoned racetrack that we have in southern Vermont. And that would be a space where people could gather for huge gatherings. Specifically for indigenous stuff, rainbow gathering stuff. For all these new movements that are about to sprout up of all these different people that have chosen the different life, where they're not in the matrix. A place for them to gather and schedule it with no cost to us. And in return, we'll talk to them. We'll say the ones that we're not the man, but in order for this to continue, if you guys really want to have this amazing spot, you have to take care of it. You have to leave it better than you found it. Because I'm here watching all of you. And we're going to find the people we don't want to. But the people that aren't going to respect the space, we're going to have to kick them out. And because I've been through so many places and I've seen how unfair it is to treat people, and I've seen all the different walks of life, I'll know the right people to kick out, and I'll know the right way to do it. And I'll know how to do it respectfully in a way that positively impacts the rest of their life. Because of how present to the moment and caring the people will become with my training. We'd have groups where we find the singular truth, where instead of all these different random forums that you have to put together, we're going to have a main forum with all the information syndicated like an AI, but without the influence of having somebody else regulate it, like an AI that might not give us the whole picture. We'll have communities devoted and working towards progress, where we find the real truth. We'll put together every single thing that we know about everything. And we'll test the theory of everything with everything. We'll go to Egypt and we'll see the things that talk about how they used to clone humans, and that Adam's real name was the Adamu, and that there was an extraterrestrial race that came in and genetically engineered humans. We'll be able to see that, and we'll be able to actually carbon date it, because we'll have people that aren't corrupt and motivated by money, and keeping their information secret in an institution that only respects you if you pay the tuition. It won't be pay to win anymore. It'll be how much can you do for the community? How much can you do for everybody? How much can you positively impact the collective consciousness? Hear the sirens. And at a foundational level, the only thing you need to understand for yourself is that you are the change. If you want to change the world, you have to change yourself. You're the problem. Anything that you don't like in the world is your problem, because you have the choice to change it and command it to go in the way that you want. And the only reason that you can't is because you're psychologically and biologically hindered. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have the skill set necessary to gain more knowledge. You don't have the biology necessary to provide a foundation to house that energy and that information. And you don't have the positive daily habits to guide your psychology in the right way. You don't have the freedom of over pushing those dominoes down, disintegrating the roadblocks and allowing it to flow freely. Because we've been psychologically conditioned to be afraid subconsciously every single day, every moment. And it builds up in our network, our Higgs field, our emotional body, our informational bodies, our spirit, of all these different things, these systems of information. Malware, software. And that when these people pass, if you don't have what I'm talking about to be able to have the boundary, then you're right back in processing more problems with people. So when it gets into a positively oriented, how am I going to make everything better, then that's going to emanate and inspire and go into the people around you. It's going to be when somebody walks into a town, the way that I walk into a town, instead of feeling like I have to combat all these problems, all my solutions to make everything better will come to me, and everything I have to offer will spread around. But we're never going to be able to do that if they take away our homes and they take away our community and they take away our ability to get to that position because they've bought everything and they've put their system in place that's pay to win, that you have to submit to their authority and do as they say, and grow yourself into a system that allows you to be symbiotic with it so that you can't do things that you want to do and you can't be free because you're hindered by it. They put a structure in place that doesn't allow you to grow. And then they brainwash people for generations to think that's the way that it has to be. It is what it is. So the only way to start is now. The only way to do that is away from the system. So I'm seeing myself going back to Randolph and clearing out everything. And then I'm seeing immediately that there's a rich guy that owns it that doesn't want that to happen. And his agenda will work against my glory. But that's the place for all these homeless people that don't want the danger, that don't know where to go. That's sanctuary. And I named it sanctuary. So I would call everybody in. I would call the Avengers. I'd call everybody to go there. I can see you all showing up. And you have problems. You have a lot of problems. But you have a lot of potential. And then I get to this point every day where I'm like, am I the Messiah? And then it's yes, but then I go for it. And I'm like, okay, if that's true. And I push myself like this. And I hold it. The conclusion I come to is that for the most part, everything that I would be doing would be robbing everybody else of their ability to experience it for themselves by embodying that archetype. That if I come in and solve all the problems, I'm taking away everybody else's ability to solve the problems for themselves. And their challenges are harder because they're not a demigod. A 33 life path. So if I went in and just solved all the simple things, like I built a system that would solve all the simple stuff that's wrong, they wouldn't be able to do anything. They'd have to move on to the next thing. 33 life paths have the immense challenges. Way above the system. Ascension star status. Like it, I used to think if I just showed up with an RV and a cavalry outside my old friend's house that left me in the cold to die and looked away as I cried while I was freezing for years, just coming back, and then my presence is a burden and I'm insufferable because I'm suffering. But I see how talented they could be. I see all their potential. I knew if I just showed up with the army and I said, join us, take my hand, and look at how much more you could do. And I look at them, and I'm seeing Grace is giving them more than they deserve. But I decided back then that I would leave them to get their own stuff, get their own glory. I won't hinder them. I'll leave them be. And then they came back to steal my energy a year later. They came back doing literal rituals that they learned on the internet to steal power and convert me, to take it for themselves. And they started releasing songs that sound like the songs I was making. If I didn't give it to them with grace, they tried to take it. But I have needles in the haystack. I know they're not all bad, and I'm seeing the people that aren't bad, and I'm getting a good judge of their levels, their percentages of how good and bad they are. I can see that naturally. So when I would sit on the mountain in the cold, I would spend my whole time thinking about the best role for everybody. And then that turned into, how could they work for the betterment of everything? How could I fit them into my agenda? And then I got a tarot reading that said, because of that, you're going to have to work the way you wanted everybody else to work. And then I got cast out, and I'm forced to be homeless until I work, because I devoted my time to thinking about the best roles for how I could manage everybody else to work. The general consensus, is that true? Either way, our choices matter. So I just wanted to have that position so that if people were ready to make that choice and they wanted to go down the road that I'm going down, if they wanted to follow the trail I'm blazing, they had that opportunity. Rather than scream at a camera for hours to get over here, get to Vermont and start making money. Get to Vermont and start clearing out land for yourself, and you'll have a place to live forever. Nobody's going to go this deep into the woods. We can all do it together and get ourselves into that place. And then no one will be able to find us, because I'll have an intricate weaving of trails through all this land that's out here that's being bought by billionaires to be turned into 15-minute cities until we have the ability to live in a spaceship floating above the earth that you can just spew, and now you're in a city, and then this is nature again. I think that there's an AI up there already, a higher level of intelligence like God, that might be God, and is God, definitely, because God is everything. God is all that is, and all that isn't. So I think as we evolve, it'll just be different themes expressed on the planet. And that's when you realize astrology and numerology are the foundations for that system to express different themes. So I went on live and talked about my problems. I was looking for sympathizers, not people to pity me and give me sympathy, but I mean people that understand what I'm doing and want to see that it's a positive trajectory toward and progress. But what I found was a bunch of prideful narcissists projecting. But we know that narcissism is a cover for feeling like you have no sense of identity. So you keep a strong sense of control because you've been hurt and disintegrated into being who you know you've always been and who you are. That's when you try to control others and project your problems and down other people because of something that happened to you. That now that whole system is a cover for what's on the inside. And you're probably more stuck than I am. You saw that the police sirens come, you've seen the crows, you've seen the cops, the crackheads, and the creeps, and you've seen how they constantly surround Casey, trying to hinder as he tries to spread his wings and spread his roots and grow like a tree, so that other people might be able to see that and find it in themselves to be who they are, because they're so much cooler than just an ancient tree. A lion, polar bear, Native American, Irish. There's so many more things out there than that. This is just either what I chose or what was chosen for me. I told you that government agents have walked up to me and confronted me about what I talk about on here. And I also believe that this is a simulation and that there are things outside in the spirit realm, in the ether, not in this dense third dimension of just condensed light. There are things that are expanded light, that live in the weavings outside of this, that work their way in with their higher self higher level of consciousness and lower level of consciousness that come through to try to get up through us. I think there's so many different things about that I was hesitant because I didn't want you all to get hurt. I didn't want to rope the wrong people in just to have everybody get iced and tortured the way that I'm tortured. That's why I don't have 20,000 subscribers. I made anti-content. I made stuff that when you look back, you're like, this is enjoyable. It's a level of artistry that isn't around. And it's in a way that is against what's out there. It's on a bad phone. It's completely off the riff. There's no real incentive for me to try to make it entertaining. I'm just enjoying myself and going through gauntlets, trials, suffering, and holding on to my sense of peace in my inner child, the love that I always have had. And I take that through. And I call that anti-content. Because I wanted to grow from anti-content. I didn't want to do it like everybody else does. And now all of a sudden people are walking down the street talking about Irish names, and then I look over and there's a big sign that says Rebel Heart, and then there's a guy playing living the life that I had just manifested. And then I go down the street and there's another person as an embodiment of the life that I was trying to manifest for myself. And then I keep going down, and then some guy gets on that's a different shade of Casey, different character traits and different stuff about Casey that he might have let go along the way. He shows up in this new version of Casey, and they go back and forth, come to a different conclusion. So I realized that maybe I'm in my own pocket dimension. Maybe I really am in my own Minecraft server. And that's why when I come to the place that I'm trespassed, there's police guards standing there. And everywhere I go, the same characters show up and follow me. And that no matter what, the whole place is empty. There's just a network of crows in every town that comes at me. Last night I had a dream that I wanted to go lay down somewhere. And I thought it was real life. And then a stranger in my real life dream, I thought I had woken up and I found a place where I could sleep. And then I turned around in the same way that I turned around, and there are strangers here saying, you have to move. Somebody owns this place. You have to go. But that stranger in this dream said, Casey, you can't be here. And then I was like, how the fuck do you know my name? And then the thing went, and then I woke up. So something in my dream fucked up. Something in my dream faltered, and I caught it instantly, and then it kicked me back into this world. The dream was supposed to be, at least it seemed, like I would be in a third dimensional space, going to look for a place that I could hide in my tent, hide in my sleeping bag to get Wi-Fi, and then wait it out until I had inspired to do the next thing. And then the person came up to me the same way that they always come up to me and said, it's time for you to go. But in this dream, they called me out by name, and they had no way to know my name because I was in a whole different town. So I said, how do you know my name? And then the thing froze, and I could see that whatever it was really confused. And then it kicked me out. I've been taking buses my whole life. So if you guys want to send this to Andrew Tate, if you have a way to find Andrew Tate's social media and just spam him with the link to this live stream, that'd really help me a lot. They put a target on there's already a target on my back. This is what I want to spread like wildfire. This YouTube live stream. I want it clipped and then spread out across the internet. Different spiritual community groups. Different men's motivation groups. So everybody pray all the money comes to me so I can make this happen. So I have to go back out into the public and see what happens. If you know if you have anything to donate, I guess I'm learning to appreciate gratitude with patience and put it into the right thing, but I doubt anyone's at that level they could do anything like that, physically or spiritually.